first time I heard my mother calling from the well, I thought I was dreaming. It was just past midnight, the kind of still, suffocating silence that presses against your ears. Our house sat alone at the edge of an overgrown property, the garden long abandoned, swallowed by weeds and creeping vines. The old stone well at the far end had been sealed years ago, or so I'd been told, yet there it was. "Help me." Her voice, clear, familiar, close. I froze halfway down the hallway, my heart thudding so loudly it drowned everything else out for a moment. Then it came again, drifting in through the open window. "Please, I'm down here." My mother was asleep in her room. I had seen her 10 minutes ago. I grabbed my recorder without thinking, a high-fidelity audio device I used for field projects, and stepped outside. The air felt wrong, thick, damp, like the ground itself was breathing. The voice grew stronger as I approached the garden. "Please, hurry." I hit record. The sound that came through the headphones was perfect, not distorted, not distant. It was her voice exactly. Tone, pitch, the subtle tremor she had when she was scared. It was so real that my body reacted before my mind could. I turned and ran back inside. She was in her bed, sleeping, breathing softly, completely unaware. I held the recorder up to her, then back toward the open window. The contrast was impossible. Warm, living presence inside, and that same voice, cold and desperate, calling from outside. Biologically, physically, logically, it made no sense. But the recording didn't lie. The next morning, I returned to the well with equipment. If something was there, I needed proof. The stone structure was older than the house itself, its rim cracked and softened by moss. Thick vines clung to its sides, as if trying to pull it back into the earth. I set up a thermal camera first. The display showed the garden glowing faintly in the morning sun, except for the well. It was a perfect void of cold, a black hole in the image, swallowing heat. And behind me, through the wall, the house pulsed with warmth. My mother was inside, alive. "Can you hear me?" I called out. For a moment, nothing. Then, "Yes, I can hear you." My blood turned to ice. The response came instantly, too instantly. Not delayed by depth or echo, not warped by distance. It was immediate, precise. I swallowed hard and set up the 360-degree camera rig, securing it to a reinforced line. "Stay there," I whispered to myself. As I lowered it into the well, the darkness seemed to thicken around the lens. The feed on my monitor flickered slightly as the camera descended. "Please, don't leave me." The voice shifted, subtly. The tone adjusted, the pacing changing depending on how close I leaned over the edge. I stepped back, the voice strained, desperate. I stepped forward again. It softened, pleading. It was reacting, learning. I reviewed the footage inside later that day, frame by frame. At first, it looked like nothing, just stone walls slick with moisture, patches of moss, darkness swallowing anything beyond a certain depth. Then, I saw it. Movement. Not falling debris, not an animal. Something that shifted against the shadows, but never fully into the light. It didn't move like anything I recognized. Too smooth, too deliberate. I paused the video and leaned back, trying to slow my breathing. That's when I remembered the property records. The well had been sealed decades ago. No explanation, no incident report, just a note. Access permanently closed. I had assumed it was safety related. Now I wasn't so sure. I played the audio again. Help me. But this time, midway through the clip, the voice changed. Not the sound, the intent. Come closer. It wasn't asking anymore. It was instructing, testing. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. That night, I decided to push further. If it could mimic my mother, could it mimic others? I loaded recordings of my father, my sister, even my own voice into a speaker system and brought it to the well. This is a test, I said aloud, my voice shaking despite my efforts. I played my father's voice first. Within seconds, "Hey, it's me." Perfect replication, no delay. Then my sister. Then my own voice. "Help me, please." I staggered back, nearly losing my footing. It wasn't an echo. It wasn't a ghost. It was something else, something that learned instantly. And it wasn't just copying, it was adapting, refining the tone, adjusting the emotion, sharpening the realism with each repetition. A lure, designed to trigger something deep and instinctual, the need to help, to rescue, to step closer. The sun began to set, and with it, the air grew heavier. The well seemed to breathe again, a low, almost inaudible hum rising from its depths. The voices became louder, layered, overlapping. "Help me! Come here! Just a little closer!" My mother, my father, myself, all at once. Then the ground shifted. A sharp crack split the silence as the rim beneath my feet crumbled. I stumbled backward just as a section of stone collapsed into the well, vanishing into the darkness below. The voices surged into a deafening crescendo, distorted and frantic. "Don't leave! Come back! You're almost here!" I ran. I didn't stop until I reached the house, slamming the door behind me and locking it with trembling hands. The next day, I sealed the well. Concrete, steel grating, motion sensors, thermal monitors, everything I could think of. If it tried to climb out, I would know. If it found another way, I didn't finish that thought. For a while, everything was quiet. No voices, no movement, just silence. Until tonight, I was reviewing the sensor logs when I heard it again, faint, muffled, not from the garden, from beneath the foundation. I froze as the sound grew clearer, rising through the foundation like something pushing up from the earth itself. Then I heard the voice, soft, familiar, terrifying. "Hey, it's me." My breath caught in my throat, because this time, it wasn't my mother's voice. It was mine.